Hello everyone. Today we have a book called Records of Jueyun. I hope you like it. If you do, please consider subscribing to the channel and like the video. Let's proceed then. Records of Jueyun, Volume 1. A collection of folk stories, myths, and legends from Liyue. It's quite a page-turner. This segment is on the legends of stone beasts. Stone beasts. Stone statues appear all across the vast land of Liyue. Most were built by locals who prayed to them for favorable weather and peace steadfast as the mountains. But it is claimed that some have a much more ancient history. One story regarding the animal statues in particular is popular among the fishermen of the Bishui River, the silvergrass harvesters of Dihua Marsh, and the old mining crowd. They say that in some corners of the land, ancient stone beasts wake at night in the cool of the fall and look around at a world that has slowly become alien to them. Hearing the sounds of frogs and insects greeting them, they respond with deep, soulful cries from their petrified throats. Then they roam around Liyue, inspecting once more the land they used to protect. To my knowledge, no one has ever witnessed a stone beast in motion firsthand. However, local residents who know the territory extremely well have long observed and accepted the phenomenon that the animal statues can change location and posture overnight. Meanwhile, light sleeping campers often report hearing a sound in the middle of the night that is like flowing water, only much deeper in tone. As for where these stone beasts originally came from, the elders of Qingse village say they are illuminated beasts who once fought alongside Rex Lapis in the Archon War. After the war ended, the tide subsided and peace was restored. The illuminated beasts were no longer required to serve as defenders of the common people, and one by one they retreated to more secluded parts of the country. There they lived free from concern for mortal affairs. But some illuminated beasts remembered with fondness the glorious days when they served under Rex Lapis, and they pined for the years when they protected Liyue. Though they were not of the mortal realm, nor were they immortal, for them too life would one day come to an end. Thus they besieged Rex Lapis to turn their ephemeral flesh bodies into everlasting stone. The merciful Geo-Archon granted their requests and made them as such. Volume 2. A collection of folk stories, myths, and legends from Liyue. It's quite a page-turner. This segment is on ancient fictional stories. Palace beneath the sea. The day had arrived. It was time to collect the bride. The sea god looked majestic indeed, as he sat center stage in his giant clam, holding in his hands the reins of two sea serpents. They stood as imposing as Mount Chenghang before the royal carriage as their master accepted the gifts of pearls from the village elders and welcomed his new bride aboard a carriage. In return, the village would receive the sea god's blessing, a year free from tempests and tsunamis. The bride was whisked away to a place deep beneath the waves, far from home, far from the reveling crowds celebrating the festival, and far from her mother all alone. The sea god took her along a corridor of great columns, formed from the skeleton of a dead whale, that led to a palatial gate adorned with shining pearls and iridescent shells. Finally, the young bride had arrived at the palace the sea god had made for her, the palace that was to be her new home. It was not my plan to meddle in the affairs of common people, came the god's voice rippling through the water. It was a husband's attempt to console his bride. This place has served as a new home for many other young women. It also became the place they spent their final days. Many of them were driven away from the village where they were born. For them, the ocean had provided safe refuge, somewhere they could sleep peacefully without fear of being disturbed, somewhere they could call home. But this young woman did not want a new home decorated with prized pearls and rare shells. The dazzling spectacle of the ocean floor and the creatures that she knew lurked in the darkness filled her not with peace, but with dread. Time went by, and the longer she stayed in her bewildering ocean chamber that knew not sunrise nor sunset, the more homesick she grew, and the frailer she became. Eventually there came a day when the sea god sensed what his young bride was feeling. Though saddened by her choice, he allowed her to go through with her decision. In the fallen world of the humans, there will come a day in your life when you regret this decision. The sea god took the shell of a sea snail that adorned his waist and handed it to her as a parting gift. There will come a day that you blow into this shell, and it will sound like a horn. On that day, you shall return to this place. The young woman took the shell and returned to the land. The years went by, and soon she became a mother herself. As she went about her simple, peaceful life, the ocean palace seemed but a childhood dream. The dazzling sights and grotesque creatures would once in a while flood into her mind from the murky depths of her memory, but it was a rare occurrence, and she put them out of her mind. She lived like this year after year, until one year, when the festival came once again, the village elders came to her home. They had come to take her daughter from her arms. It was then that she finally understood why the sea archon had spoken of her regret and of her return all those years ago. On the eve of the festival, she blew into the shell, and it sounded like a horn. The sea god responded to the call, rising up from the billowing waves to greet the village. But his embrace was a tidal wave that engulfed the village and took the villagers and elders in their sleep. Drawn by giant sea serpents, a colossal clam carriage came to a halt in front of her, dazzling her with its shimmering pearls. The mother took her daughter by the hand and boarded the sea god's clam. It was just like she remembered from her childhood, only this time the village she left behind now lay in ruins beneath the ocean waves. If you've listened to this point, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. If you enjoyed this, please, again, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. See you next time.